Let's study the First Noel, this beautiful Christmas carol. The Noel carol pictures shepherds looking up into the night sky and seeing the appearance of an angel who was announcing the birth of a very special child. Imagine that. In France, they say Bon Noël, good Christmas to you. And so this is a beloved carol, traditional, and tells a story of an outdoor scene where we see here shepherds and angels and sheep and talking about a king. Sounds very, very wonderment and magical to me and very special. Let's listen to it. The angel did say was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay, in fields where they lay keeping their sheep on a cold winter's night that was so deep. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. And I'm sure you've sung that if you've ever been in a caroling group around the holiday time. You will have heard this song many, many times. Even in the shopping mall, they play it. Let's go ahead and study it so we can play it in addition to perhaps even singing it. You will notice when we look at the music, embedded into the very first line or phrase, notice 8 notes that go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Guess what that could be? You're right, a major scale. Imagine that. And it is going up. So we see an ascending scale that begins the first part of the melody. We want to be sure that we practice our C, D, E, thumb under F, G, and then of course A, B, C. If we put the rhythm against our scale tones, we have to remember that we have a dotted quarter for 1 1/2, an 8th note with the flag for a half a beat, a pair of 8th notes, a half note, 2 more 8th notes, and a quarter. Imagine all the variety in this scale, but that's what keeps the song interesting and fun to sing. If we wanted to tap this scale, we would start with a dotted quarter, counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. And notice I'm counting to 3 because I see the number 3, 4 for our time signature. Now, if we put this scale against the counting, it would sound like this: 1 and 2 and 3, thumb under, and 1, 2 and 3 and 1. I'm going to show you one more time with the straight counting. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. And of course you have to remember to put the thumb under after the E or after finger 3. Now, before the scale begins, we have 2 notes that are rather make an extra appearance at the very beginning of the piece or the song. And of course this only equals 1 beat, this pair of 8th notes. Where are the missing 2 beats? You guessed it, they're at the very end with the half note. So we're going to start our counts from beat 3 end. And so the total picture would look like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. And now the song starts to take shape when we put the scale against the rhythm, of course. Notice the chords against the C in the melody. They're going to give us a C chord. Doesn't that make sense? Because there's a C in the melody and they want a matching C in the chord. That chord is a perfect choice for the note C in the melody. When we get up to the second measure, we find a G. Well, of course, there's a G also in the C chord. So the C chord continues to be a perfect match for the melody note G. When we get to the top of the scale, a high C, for variety's sake, they're going to change to an F chord. Well, guess what? There's also a C in the F chord. So again, a perfect match. F is better than the C chord because it would be rather boring to have 3 straight C chords. And so they mix it up by giving us a lovely F chord. Let's listen to it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. And we stop on the F chord. Now, you will remember that the chords are lined up with the melody on beat 1 of those first 3 measures. So this is why we strike the chord on beat 1, and we have to hold it for 3 counts because they are dotted half notes. Once we get to the top of our scale, the melody becomes quite simple. We just come down a step, down a step, down a step. We hold that for 2. We go back up a couple steps and come back down a step, 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 up a step, up a step. So this whole passage is involved with down, descending, or ascending steps. That's all it is. So we simply want to go from finger to finger to finger to finger and back up again. There isn't sight reading that's much easier than that. All right, let's look at the chord. So we're back to a C chord. On that high C, once again, the F chord is repeated. And then back down to the G, we have the C. When we get to the end of this first section, we're on, again, a high C. We've been on that high C 3 times now, here, here, and here. Notice down a 4th from 5 to 2, down a step with 1, and we're at this point, we're out of fingers. We're on our 1, but they call for us to go down 1 more step, so we must cross over 3. I like 3 instead of 2 because for the repeat, we must go right back to the beginning, which is 3 on E. And if we cross 3 here, we're all ready to start 3 again on that repeat. Here's the melody so far. 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. These are all steps going down. 1 and 2 and 3 and step, step down, up, up 1 more, down a 4th, down a step with the crossover, and you're going to stop on the E. Now, the only tricky part of the left hand is that we have a little faster chord change in that measure 7, that second to last measure. Let's look and see. Against the C, we have a C chord. When we go down a 4th, the G is still in the C, so no chord change. But once we get to the F, notice the G7 is used because the F in the G7 chord right here matches the F in the melody. A perfect match. And when we cross to the E, the music brings us back to the C chord because, of course, there is an E in the middle of the C chord. The whole first section repeats. Let's listen to it. 1 and 2, both hands. 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2. Get ready for the F chord change. Back to C. And 2 and F again. And 2. Return to C chord. C chord, down a 4th. Quick change. G7, C, and 2. Repeat. 3 and 2 and F chord, C chord and 2 and back to F. Return to C chord. Stay on C. Down a 4th. Quick change G7. And if if you got that far, you have the basis for the entire piece. Let's see what's going to happen next. We start again with an upbeat, just like our upbeats at the beginning. This is considered an upbeat because the measure is really an extension of the one before it, but this is considered an upbeat to the next measure. Well, once we get going, can you see a scale pattern again? However, the second time, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and... Let's count how many notes there are in this scale pattern. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like the two middle notes are missing, the two pair of eighth notes. So here, we're going to have to sort of stop and delay on that G. That is a half note. There is no pair of eighth notes continuing up the scale. Instead, the scale pattern jumps straight to the high C, like this. And 2. 1 and 2 and... So the second time here, the A and the B got cut out. They just simply don't exist in that scale. It's a partial scale. All right. Once we get past our scale, we're going to come back down by steps. There's a same, and then down a step. Careful to lift for the rest. Sounds like this. 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. Stay on the 1 on the G. 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. 1, 2, and lift for the rest. I hope you saw that. Of course, our chords are simply again C, just like above. It's identical. This ink isn't very good here, but maybe you can see it. And back to C. So together, and 2. Stay for the G, 2, and high C. Coming down, 2, 3, 1, 2, and both hands have to lift for that quarter rest. Now, for Born is the King, the finale of this little carol, we go back to the high C on 5. We're going to step down, step up. Guess what? Do you see the similarity? Line 4 is identical to line 2. How easy is that? There is no repeat the second. That is the end of the piece. And notice all the chords are exactly the same. C chord, quick G7 and C. Here is our Noel, which is so repetitive. Once you get past those first two lines, you'll know it by like the back of your hand. All right, listen. 1 and 2 and 2. 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3. High C down a fourth. Down a step, crossover, repeat. And 2. 1 and 2 and 3. And down a fourth, quick change. Upbeat, 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. Stay there, 3 and 1 and 2. Lift for the rest, and 2 and off. F chord. And down a fourth. Quick change. And there it is, class. It's really a fun piece to play, mainly because of the scale. Now, if you get very industrious, you can think about transposing, and we studied that word, transposing, in our, I believe it was our scherzo. No, I'm sorry, it was our Polish dances. We're about to study that again. You may try as many scales as you know. We're studying G and F major. Why don't you try transposing into the G major key and using the G scale and the G chords? Watch. Here my G, I know I'm starting on the 3rd. Quick change. Or what about the F major scale? Watch this. I'm on F, start on finger 3. Careful, B flat. Quick change. Wouldn't that make you the life of the party? If somebody came along and couldn't sing solo, you can move it up and transpose for them. So suddenly you're the center of the party because you've got these skills to play in different keys with different scales. Have fun and happy holidays and Merry Christmas playing these wonderful little timeless carols.